No.
One's on a motorcycle ride with Mike this summer.
I think so.
Oh, really?
We're going to Colorado, Idaho, Washington.
Is that Brian?
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Yes, yes.
Give him 30 seconds to get started.
Okay.
He said he's gonna be 5 minutes late.
Did he? He's not too late.
I was gonna have to start juggling or something.
I've lost him.
He's still putting his show on.
Okay. It's 2. He said he did 2, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Are there any more out there?
Yeah.
Good deal.
He's walking
All eyes on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought he still played up here. Because he walked around.
Set the speech.
Did you hear me the other day when I said you better bring your own Bible?
Responsibility.
Look at that thing.
I know that he brings one.
I've got a little phone.
Look, yes, he did.
I've got it. Got it on my phone.
Big cat of cat.
Cool, Ryan.
Hello, counselor. Hello. We'll give you 10 seconds to get
I appreciate it.
situated. Okay. All right. I'll call the work session to order Tuesday, April 10th, 2018, and I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. No public comments, and so now we will entertain a motion to adjourn out of the work session.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, now let's call to order the monthly board meeting, Tuesday, April 10th, 2018. And it looks like we have some recognition. Wait, we'll have to approve the agenda?
Yes.
Oh, it's later, okay, sorry. We'll do the recognition.
We need to approve the agenda.
You've got it down, number 7 on
Yeah, that's why I said that.
Yeah,
That's what I thought too.
actually,
We have to
you do need
approve it, don't we?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do that.
Okay. Do we need to?
Approve the recognition and then also the reorganization part of that. And then we'll adjourn and go into the regular meeting. That'll work on it.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
So still wait to approve it.
You're just gonna approve the
One
Recognition.
Recognition and the,
election?
Yeah, and then,
what's your reorganization? Yeah.
yeah.
Make a motion that we approve the agenda for recognitions, the board results, and the reorganization of the board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay, first part of this agenda is recognition, and Ms. Hollifield, she's going to begin with the 2018 Missouri Scholars 100.
Good afternoon. The high school senior that was selected for the Missouri 100 actually cannot be here this afternoon. He is en route back from another school event. So I'm just going to give you a little information and we'll talk a little bit about this student, okay? High school senior Fidel Akalani of Sikeston High School has been selected for the 2018 Missouri Scholars 100. This is a statewide program that honors 100 of Missouri's top academic students in the graduating class of 2018. Students will be recognized at a luncheon at the Holiday Inn Executive Center in Columbia on Sunday, April the 22nd. I'm just going to give you a little information about this. Missouri Scholars 100 is a program that is sponsored by the Missouri Association of Secondary School Principals. It is based primarily on a formula that uses the student's GPA, ACT, or SAT score. Each student that is nominated, they have to meet certain criteria. It's called an academic decathlon, which includes 10 events. They're designed to ensure the academic strength of the student. To meet these requirements, they must have a minimum GPA of 3.750, a minimum ACT score of 29, or a minimum ACT score of 1600. They have to have taken upper level courses in math, science, English, and foreign language. The student must also have excellent attendance, be an exemplary school citizen, and be involved in the school activity program. So we just want to congratulate Fidel on his great accomplishments, and wish he could be here, but his mom did call and let me know that he wouldn't be here this evening. Our next group of individuals. We are going to recognize the Boys and Girls State program. I'm going to first call the students in and give them a certificate, and then I'm going to talk a bit about the program, okay? First, we have Grant Lawson for the Boys State program. Aaron Mays. Bryce Miller. Spencer Williams. Girls State is Claire Boner. She's not going to be here. She called ahead. Ella Crater, who is also en route from FBLA. Am I correct?
That's right.
Grace Faust. Oh. Should we get Oh, she won't interview. You're mute too. I'm mute. There we go.
There you go.
Okay, Missouri Boys State and Girls State. It's an intensive week of government study, and basically it is sponsored by the American Legion and the American Legion Auxiliary. These students have distinguished themselves as leaders in our high school. They have been selected based upon their interest in government, a leadership position, their awards and recognition that they have acquired, community service and organization, and activities within our school system. The Missouri Boys and Girls State programs are recognized nationwide as one of the finest programs of its kind, and that is due to the exceptional students selected to participate in this program. So at this time, we want to congratulate our 2018 Boys and Girls State. Thank you all. Okay, our next recognition is State DECA Awards. We have a couple here that we're going to recognize. Grace Faust again. She won the Public Relations Project first place. This event consisted of a 30-page paper and a presentation. Grace completed a chapter project from November through January to bring additional awareness to the Bulldog Pantry and to raise funds. She competed against 23 other DECA public relations projects. Grace will compete at the International Career and Development Conference in Atlanta, Georgia, representing Missouri. Next is Giselle Delane. She couldn't be with us this afternoon, but she was leadership delegate. Giselle qualified for state at the district level and completed the leadership program at a level that qualified her for the Emerging Leader Series at the International Career and Development Conference. Next is Annie Enzer, Jared Sandlin. These three won first place in the Virtual Business Challenge, specifically in sports. This event was a 2-week competition that took place twice during the school year. These three got first in the state in both competitions. Only 2 teams are eligible for ICDC from a 7-state region. They placed 3rd in one session among those 7 states and 4th in another. They were recognized on stage during the opening ceremony at the state competition for their accomplishments. Great job. Thank you so much for all your hard work and dedication. Thank you. Oh, Ryan Lindsay is our sponsor. I'm sorry, Ryan.
Anyone else we forgot about?
If
Sorry.
you're not here, speak up.
Okay, next we have on our agenda the consideration of certification of the April 3rd, 2018 election results. And with that, we had no election. We had 2 individuals running for 2 spots. We had Matt Tanner and we had, I was going to say Bill Powers, Glenn Cantrell. And so then we move into the oath of office for the newly elected members.
Yes. You don't have to read that. Do we have election results that we have to certify, though? I know we didn't have an election, but do we have to certify them?
Jim, to read that?
You do not have to actually do that, but you can.
Oh.
No, you do not. I did get something in, the certification from Scott County, but I did not receive anything from the matter.
So really all we have to do since we had no elections is give the oath of office.
So Glenn, Matt,
I do, just in case I forgot it.
Please just repeat after me, gentlemen. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Missouri,
and the Constitution of the State of Missouri,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
the duties of school director
the duties of school director
in and for the Sikeston R-6 District
And for the Sikeston R-6 School District,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
according to law.
according to law.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
thank you.
congratulations. You have your new line. You should be good to go. Yes, log in. Okay, next on the agenda is reorganization of the Board of Education. And we have, first, we have that of the election of the president of the Sikeston R-6 Board of Education. So I'm asking for nominations for that position.
Nominate Matt Tanner, president.
Are there any other nominations? You want to give me let me give you a minute, Glenn. You want me to give you a minute? Okay. No, I do. I
Oh,
should
okay.
have responsibility.
Okay, all
You're
right.
taking a back seat.
No, that's fine, I just wanted to make sure, yeah.
All in favor of Matt Tanner as the Sikeston R-6 Board of Education president, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Matt. Next, we have the election of vice president. We have nominations for vice president.
I would like to nominate Rebecca Stewart.
Okay, Rebecca has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? Okay. All in favor of Rebecca Stewart being the vice president of the Sikeston R-6 Board of Education, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Rebecca. Next, we have the election of secretary. Do we have nominations for secretary of the Board of Education?
I would nominate Brian Nichol.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? All in favor of Brian Nichol being the Sikeston R-6 School District Secretary, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations as well, Brian.
Hold the applause.
Next is that of the appointment of treasurer. Do we have nominations for treasurer of the R-6 student district?
I don't nominate. Oh, I nominate Lord Borden. No, I didn't know if I could nominate, I normally don't nominate, that's why I was asking.
Yes, you may.
Okay.
Any other nomination? All in favor of Lori Borman as the treasurer of the R-6 school district, signify by saying aye.
I didn't say reluctantly.
And lastly, we have the appointment of the assistant treasurer of the R-6 district.
Motion that we nominate Cheryl White to be the
Okay.
assistant treasurer.
Nominate Cheryl White. Are there there any other nominations? All in favor of Cheryl White as the Assistant Treasurer of the Sikeston R-6 District, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, very good. We have Matt Tanner as the President, Rebecca Stewart as Vice President, Brian Nichol as the Secretary, Laura Borman as the Treasurer, and Cheryl White as Assistant Treasurer. So at this time, if we would switch spots,
Switch seats.
and Rebecca, if you come on over here. Bye, Scott.
You got such a long distance to
Yeah,
travel.
yeah.
Yes, everyone.
We got that.
I'm never gonna sit on this side.
Very good. Mr. Tanner, I'm going to turn it back over to you
Okay.
for adjourn the meeting.
I need a motion to adjourn from our regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Okay. We got approval for the agenda, then we need to make a motion to,
Approve the agenda.
okay, yeah. All right, I need a motion to approve the agenda. Are we going to make some of those adjustments?
I would move to amend the agenda and to remove item requiring action number 3, consideration of implementing the lottery system, and item 6, consideration of board policy JHDF, and table those today.
A motion on the floor to remove number 3 and number 6, on the table those.
And second.
Okay. Motion and a second, any discussion, questions, comments? All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay.
Okay, first item under informational is that the Focus Accountability Plan update. And I didn't see you back there, Ms. Hartzog, and I had Ms. Hartzog back there. And first, I would like Mr. Mays, if you would please, go ahead and explain why Southeast isn't on the
I would love
agenda.
to. If you notice that Miss Edwards is not on the agenda tonight from Southeast Elementary, and the reason for that is because Southeast has officially exited Focus School status. And so they will no longer be giving reports. And I think Ms. Hartzog has some good news as well, so I'll turn it over to her. Thank you.
The first thing I'd like to give you guys is a copy of the Focus School supporting data. If you recall, we said that we were waiting to hear from Ken Jackson and Desi, so they finally posted the data, and
Was it what you ciphered into?
yes. So what you see here is, when you're Focus School, it's based on a 3-year cumulative percent of proficient and advanced. And so you're seeing data from 2015, 2016, and 2017 MAP tests. And when you look at the cumulative totals, you see that we have 42.8% in ELA and 34.8% in math. Now, the combined total, the exit target is 29.9. So you can see that right now, to the left of the exit target, you see that we're at 38.8%. So already, we're well above the target. So if we can maintain, or better yet, improve, then we're looking at exiting the program very soon. We've already gotten 1 year, so we need 2 more years.
Good job.
Yeah, those numbers, 62% and 45? Wow.
Well, you know, when we finally, they didn't let us know that we were a Focus School until like right before the MAP test 1 year. And so we hadn't really had a lot of time to do some improvements. So now that we've had a couple years to really put some things in place and really focus in on our instruction and what we're doing when the kids don't understand it, I really think it's made a huge difference. The teachers work really, really hard. As far as the focus plan update, that's the first thing. And just kind of let you know, we are still part of the PLC process. I really do think that that's had a huge play in us seeing these improvements too. And I would say that probably if Southeast were here, they'd probably say that their, being in that program also helped them, because it makes you look at everything. It makes you look at the way that you assess students. It makes you look at how what you do to help them, the interventions you provide. It just looks at the whole school. So in saying that, we're still part of that process. This will be year 2 and completion of that process. It is an ongoing program where we learn each year. We go to trainings at SEMO. So far, we're on track where we need to be as far as the people at SEMO, they kind of guide us and tell us what we need to do. We also continue to meet collaboratively at least once weekly in grade levels. Some of them meet 2 and 3 times. It just kind of depends on how many common plan times they have and what they have going on. We analyze data to help drive instructional practices. We use benchmarks, unit assessments, and CFAs are continued to be administered. Also, we're part of PBIS, and we're implementing Tier 1 of the program, as well as implementing Tier 2. I think I talked to you a little bit about the check-in, check-out process last time. We're continuing to implement that, fine-tuning that as you go. Every time you start something new, you trial and error. It's just part of it. So we're learning and growing in that respect. And then something that we're going to do more deeply next year is our response to intervention tiers. Right now, generally speaking, when you in a classroom or in a school, you have intervention tiers. For example, you have Tier 1 instruction that everyone gets. You might do that whole group, you might do that small group. It just kind of depends on the teacher and the material that you're teaching. The kids that don't get maybe everything, but need a little bit of assistance, then you pull them in their Tier 2. The kids that still don't understand, still struggle, that's Tier 3. And they may be worked with in the title classroom with a title teacher, or they might be in the regular classroom with the regular teacher in a small group or even individually. What we're looking at is a model of how you tier students and how you really look and see how they're doing. We went to Fredericktown because we had heard that they really had a lot going on. I know the 6th grade center had sent some people to Fredericktown, and so we went. I took a big group of people. We met with the elementary principal and as well as the intermediate principal, because up there they have a K2 building and a 3-5 building, and so I kind of needed to see how both worked. And so we kind of talked to them. They told us how they implemented it. We got some really good plans for what we're going to do next year. And so we plan to implement this more research-based structuring of RTI next year for ELA. We decided we're not going to try to do ELA and math. Sometimes if you try to do too much too fast, it's too overwhelming. So we're going to start with ELA next year. And I'm really excited about that. And it goes right in line with, hopefully, if we get to adopt a new reading series, then that'd be perfect. So that's what I've got for the focus plan.
Any questions for Ms. Hartzell?
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the high school achievement update. My name is Morgan. Mr. Bays is back there as well. Ms. Morgan's going to present it.
I'm going to kind of do it a little differently. I'm going to talk about one program that we have implemented at the school this year, but I'm going to talk about a lot of the extracurricular events that go on at the high school, because a lot of the people don't understand what all the students and the teachers put into outside of the school day. So I'm going to talk about some of the accomplishments of our other organizations, and I'm actually going to kind of leave the sports aspect off because you guys usually hear about the sports aspect. So I'm going to kind of talk about the organizations and the clubs and different things like that. But first, I do want to talk about the new intervention program that we started this year, and I shouldn't say we, the counselors and a couple of the teachers kind of got this spearheaded and kind of brought me into it. But it's called the iCare team. And what the iCare team is, or the program is basically we have some students that we have identified that need a little extra support. Either just a mentor, just to say, hey, you've got this dude, let's get this going. Or we even have some students that we pull out during advisory class to go to certain teachers to get extra help. And so it's kind of started out with a small group, and then we've kind of got other teachers involved in it. Ms. Hotchkiss is involved in it, and different teachers involved in it, to either be mentors or what is considered what we call homework lab for students to either go to on a short basis, just say they've missed like a week of school due to sickness or something like that to get their grades up, or students that need constant reinforcement and they're in there for the whole semester. Through that, we use A+ students to help with the tutoring aspect of it. So we bring in A+ students and they can help the students as well, not just the teacher. We currently have 10 ninth graders in it, 24 10th graders in it, 7 11th graders in it, and 12 7th graders in it, or 7 12th graders in it. And so some of the, we've seen positive and negatives out of the part of it, but some of the positives that I want to share is a student was failing 4 classes and they were looking to even transfer to New Horizons. And with this student coming into this homework lab, they are now passing all the classes and they have actually even expressed interest in going to Three Rivers College, which was never on their radar. Another student, she moved here and was having difficulty developing friendships, and she just missed school a lot because she wasn't liking school. She was a very smart student, but just having a hard time fitting in. They put her in this homework lab. She's developed friends in that homework lab. She doesn't miss anymore. She's passing classes, and she's also meeting with Miss Bayard about pursuing elsewhere. We have quite a few success stories like that. You know, we have some students that still are working on that, but next year we actually met today about trying to expand it, trying to get more teachers involved. Right now, what we have is a homework lab for every advisor. We have 4 advisory class period, or 4 class periods, depending on lunch. And so we have 4 teachers right now. We're wanting to expand that to at least 8 teachers, 1 for 9th and 10th grade, and then a teacher for 11th and 12th grade per lunch period. So we see it working. You know, there's of course some stuff that we need to change, but we're trying to reach those students that just need that little extra help. Okay. Now on to some of the things that have been going on at the high school. Mr. Levels talked about work keys last board meeting, and we gave that test at the end of March, and I wanted to tell you that we had 64 students that participated in that, and out of that we had 13 score platinum, 14 score gold, 15 silver, 16 bronze, and there were 6 that did not receive a certification. It was my understanding that there was only 1 person in this area that scored platinum before our students took it, so that's pretty impressive.
And we had 13.
We had 13.
Yeah, that's what he said the other night.
13.
He said that the other night at the chamber.
Yeah.
That's
So
impressive.
it's awesome. It's very neat, and again, next year we're looking at doing this hopefully in a bigger realm. Luckily, we started out small and then kind of moved on because we had some computer things that we had to change too. So, but anyway, that went well. Also on April 3rd, we did junior ACT again. It's senior decision day. We tested 189 students, and then we have 6 to make up on the April 24th date. And of course, we don't have any results from that, but the students seemed really pumped. We were kind of a little scared coming back off of a long break how many would show up ready, and they showed up ready to go, and everything went smooth on that. And then out of our seniors, I wanted to tell you that so far we have 103 seniors that have completed FAFSA. And talking to Miss Bayard, she said that's numbers up probably about 15 to 20 students that have already completed that for hopefully going on to college and different things. So Miss Bayard is doing a lot of things for our seniors and getting them ready for their next step of life. Shannon already mentioned kind of Girl State and Fidel Alkalani. Fidel and I'll meet Fidel up there in April, and we'll go to that little luncheon for Fidel. But he, he's accomplishing a lot of things. And with that Missouri Scholars Program, there's also a Missouri Scholars Academy that recognizes sophomores that are going to be juniors. And we had 3 10th grade students that are going to that this summer. And it's the top 330 sophomores in the state that get to go, and so we have 3 students that will be participating in that in June. So, and they look at things like the GPA. They have to take an aptitude intelligence test. They have to write essays. They also look at leadership and how committed they are to this academy. So,
Can you say who they are?
I have 2 of their names. Lauren James is one of them. And I'm trying to think of now. I have the email. I have my phone on me.
We didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah, that's okay. Sorry. I didn't mention any students in this because I have a lot of information to give you. I can send that though. Other highlights, I I wanted to talk about is Skills USA. They had 65 students who qualified for state contest last week. And out of that, 6 placed third, 23 placed second, 7 won first, and all of them qualified to go to nationals in Louisville, Kentucky in late June. In addition to all their skills work that they do in and out of school, they are also on April 20th. There's 175 of the Skills USA members that are going to service and do Feeding the Starving Children. So that's some of the highlights. FCA is also going to help in that, and FBLA is also helping on the next day too for Feeding the Starving Children. DECA, as you also said, that we had 30 students placed first and 16 students placed second at districts, and then 4 placed first at state, and then we have 2 that are going to internationals. Grace Fowles and Giselle Delane get to go to DECA Internationals at the end of this month to Atlanta, which is a huge, big 4 or 5 day event that's going on. FBLA is currently gone right now, but they had 40 students compete at districts with 34 placing, and then 27 of those competed at state starting on Sunday, and it ended today. And my last result is I know we at least have 2 teams going to nationals for that. I kind of try to keep up with Ms. DeVault's information on that on Facebook, but I know we at least have 2 teams going to that. I know Fidel is part of that, and Walker Venable is one of that, because I got to see the pictures today. So we also have them going to state, or going to national, sorry. HOSA is, it's called Health Occupation Students of America, which is put on with Miss Houston, kind of supervises that. And they have kind of their state level events that they also work at, plus they do Skills USA, but they had 23 students compete at the state level, and 4 of the students placed in the top 5. Unfortunately, we didn't have anybody that went to that are going to nationals this year. Last year we did, but we still have results coming from them. FFA, we had 16 different areas at districts with individual students or teams moving, or that competed, and 6 of those teams are moving on to the state level. And then we had 1 team and 2 individuals that actually placed first at districts, so they move on as well. Science Olympiad, we had 11 high school students participate in the Regional Science Olympiad competition, and 8 of those students won first place in their event, and they were supposed to go this past weekend to compete, but with the snow they canceled it. So on April 28th they will be competing at the state competition. Speech and debate. Speech and debate had 4 students. They had some students compete at districts, and 2 of them moved on to the final round. And then from that final round, we had 1 student that placed 3rd, and she will be going in 2 different events to the state competition, April 19th and 20th. The Bulldog Barker, they also won an honor recently. They were titled the All-Missouri Newspaper. This is the highest honor a school newspaper can receive from the Missouri Interscholastic Press Association, and in that we also had 4 individual students that received that honor as well. Yearbook, they also, and this happened earlier in the year, but they received a superior rating from the Missouri Interscholastic Press Association too for their yearbook that was produced last year. And she said that they're on track again. I don't know if they kind of go by a system, but it looks like hopefully this yearbook should win something as well. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about band, orchestra, and choir. They competed at districts. There is a large group that is kind of the state competition right there. They kind of compete at that level and at the state. The symphonic band received an exemplary rating. Concert band, chamber orchestra, and concert chorale received outstandings. And then in addition, we had some students that performed a solo or in smaller groups like 3 to 4 students. And they received a rating that they get to go on to state. And so we have 25 students going on to state. So on top of all the testing that's starting tomorrow, we have numerous students that are in and out trying to juggle their schoolwork. Teachers have to try to make sure students that are out get the material they need for testing or for a test. So as we always say, there's never a dull day in the month, or in spring season. So we have everything going on, and that's just some of the stuff that's happening at the high school.
When you're back when the original, was it eye care, is that what
Yes.
you called it? Is that proprietary? I mean, did we find it on the internet? Or did you just kind of
There was just kind of, I had a teacher come to me, she was in her second year of teaching, and she said, I have some students that I would just like to get to know better. Can we kind of meet as, maybe like as freshman teachers, sophomore teachers? Can we kind of meet and just kind of talk about students like, hey, maybe, what do you do to get this student to learn? What do you do to get this student motivated? And so we kind of started out like that at one of the in-services. We just divided up into grades, and we just kind of started talking about students. Well, from there, then it kind of just went on to more, and we thought this is just something that we need to do for students, just to help them out in any way we can. And a lot of it's just about building relationships.
Right.
You know, you build that relationship, and I have a couple students that I check on weekly.
How do you do, I mean, do the counselors?
We ask the teachers to refer them. We have a referral process.
Okay.
And then I automatically meet with students that are failing 2 or more classes. I meet with them every couple months. And so then I kind of had a list too of, hey, this student I've met with back at midterm first quarter, I met with them at the end of first quarter. These are some students that I'm seeing on a regular basis. So I gave them a list too, and then it's just kind of snowballed from there. That
Nice.
kind of how it works.
Outstanding.
Any questions for Ms. Morgan?
I do, did we do away with drama club?
No, we had a play, we did have a play, and actually, I did not, Miss Ramsey didn't give me that, but she was very pleased, because I think on Friday night's performance, they had 100 and something people there to watch the play. It was a musical this year, it was a musical,
We
so,
switch every other year,
Yeah.
musical play, and
Yeah.
this year was musical.
I'm glad.
Yeah. so yes, it just, that was at the end of March too.
ACT, did I say the foundation?
Yes.
The junior foundation,
Yes.
Miss Matthews?
Yes, Miss
I know, so
Matthews,
we didn't have to
yes.
pay for it.
Yes, it was awesome. Yep, and then we had, Aramark helped us with the food, and Mr. Faust, who was here earlier, kind of helps with that. We have a parent volunteer committee that really helps with that too. They got, some prizes donated, and Norma Miles and, Miss Nash helped with that, and then we have some other parents that have just helped throughout, throughout donating things. We had a bunch of parents that donated some snacks and different things like that, so.
Like college starter kits, you know, they got baskets of laundry.
That's for the seniors, they get out really nice presents for the seniors, a little microwave, a little fridge, different things like that, for the seniors to kind of get started for holidays, yeah.
Any other questions? That's outstanding, thank you.
Thank you.
We got a bunch
Sorry.
of
It was a
awesome
lot,
kids, don't we?
it was a lot of information, I'm sorry. I was trying to go fast,
It's hot leadership.
Next on the agenda is the student enrollment as of April 1st, 2018. You can see that we have 3,294 kids. We're down 16 students from the previous month of March. Grades K through 6, we were at 1863, we're down 14 students. 7 through 12 enrollment is at 1,325, down 4 students, and then the alternative school enrollment is 112 kids, and we're up 4 students. So that's our enrollment as of April 2018. Questions? Next in your packet is your student discipline data, and Glenn, this is put in here every month, and it'll be broken down between in-school suspension and out-of-school suspension, and it breaks it down by building. And then you can look on there too. It just talks about the description, the building, the description, or the event, the days, grade, the gender, ethnicity, and special education as well. Questions on the discipline data?
I do, because I'm kind of seeing a trend, it looks like to me. Again, remember a few years ago, I said, why is Lee Hunter not having as many disciplinary issues? It went way down, and then there were some changes made, and it went way back up again. And it looks like it's way back down again. Is there any concern that you have about that?
Without specifically talking about it,
Yeah.
it has started to increase within the last Mr. Crater, a couple weeks, correct?
That's right.
So, and we'll be talking about that.
Okay.
Okay, next is the board policy for consideration, and we have local amendments. And the first one is that of GCPB, resignation of professional staff members. If you'll look on that, it's the second page. We added a section to this stating an employee will not be released from a contract unless a suitable replacement is found. Further, any employee released from a contract will be responsible for costs of finding a suitable replacement, training expenses, and other disruption as specified in their contract. This will be tied a little bit later on when we get into the tenured probationary contracts. That is tied to that.
So Tom, so it's tied, so is this an additional cost on top of if they break a contract?
That statement right there relates to that cost.
Okay.
Yep.
That's essentially saying in policy, you're going to have this.
Because in the past, the board has discussed this several years. And so when we were redoing the contracts, it was decided to go ahead and put in a dollar amount. For example, if you try to get out of your contract in June, it's this amount, July and August. And so that is reflected within what we'll talk about down under required action. We'll talk about tenure and also probation.
So that has been implemented in this contract. So
That's in this contract.
okay.
Questions on that policy? Next, we have board policy JGR1, which is that of student discipline data. And if you turn in, I don't know if I can give you a specific page or not, we have some local amendments to that on page 18 and on 19. This is something that the elementary administrators wanted to do. They changed the tardy policy as far as what is done to the kids. They felt as though that there was more of an impact on the kids than it was the parents, and the parents are the ones that typically are the ones that bring the kids to school. Right.
Yeah.
So that was modified somewhat and changed there. In addition to that, on page 22, this is something that the high school has asked to modify for grades 9 through 12 only, and that is dealing with the technology misconduct, dealing with cell phones. And what it is, and you can read there, it just says use of cell phones during non-instructional time, during lunch, and between classes, or as part of the instructional program. And in addition to that, the offense, or I should say the consequences, have been changed as well, down there at the bottom.
Is it more strict or?
It's less.
Steve, would you like to address that? No, I'm putting you on the
No,
spot.
no, sir, you're not putting, basically, we looked at it. Every kid there has a cell phone. I mean, everyone. And basically, we're just wanting to open it up. It's going to be more relaxed. As far as, like Mr. Williams said, between classes, non-instructional time. And, you know, it's, I don't want to say, you know, the inmates are running the asylum, but it's basically, I mean, we could just, you know, I can walk by, you got one, you got one, you got one. When you see a kid with a set of headphones and it's in his pocket, well, it's not on his iPad, you know, so. And again, it's just one of those things that's, it's really a non-issue anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has it, and so we thought, well, instead of hiding it, putting it in the closet, let's just go ahead and just make sure that the rules.
Because they're not harming anything
No.
by
Right,
using
right,
those at those
right.
times.
Exactly.
And maybe they need to get hold of somebody.
And you ask them to put it away,
Put
and
it-
they'll put it away.
yeah.
I mean, it's not like they're,
Right, I mean, generally, if I saw Grayson here with her cell phone, hey, put your phone away, okay? Generally, kids stick it in their pocket and they move on, and you know, occasionally you'll have one that won't, and then we move forward in our discipline. It's pretty simple, it's really a non-issue anymore,
Kind of like chewing gum in class, trying to.
basically,
yeah,
yeah.
like how it used
I
to
mean,
be.
everything
Now
has
it's
changed
okay.
from when this particular policy was put in place,
Right.
however many years ago, you know.
Exactly.
It was a lot bigger deal
So-
10 years ago.
Right, I mean, exactly, I mean.
When only a couple had them. Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
You think about elementary kids are carrying them around now, so I mean, it's part of their life, you know. People that don't have watches are antiquated, you know, to the kids, hey, what time is it? You know, the first thing they do is they pull it
Oh,
phone.
your cell phone.
They don't.
Any reason not to do it in seventh, eighth grade, or
I think,
just they're not?
I think this is kind of a trial type thing we were talking about, that we'd like to try with 9 through 12 this next year and just see how that works.
That's fine.
And,
I think if you go back and look at the discipline, for cell phone discipline, it's gone way down. Because basically we've kind of said, hey, put it away, and if kids just doesn't buck up on you, then it's like I said, it's not an issue.
that's part of the procedure as well, is it not, that when the kids come into class, for example, first thing in the morning, they'll be told to put those things up, and probably each and every other class too.
Right.
Well, you know, part of the problem has been too, it's not school-wide. Certain teachers may allow it, certain teachers may not. I mean, that's just. the
Because we
fact.
can't be everywhere at once,
Sure,
and,
sure.
you know, I mean, I've had kids in my office and I need to call somebody from home. Well, all the numbers that are in SIS are wrong. Pull your phone out and just give it to me, you know, and then they'll give you, that's where it is, so. Okay. So, it's really, like I said, it's really a non-issue. And, you know, really, the only thing that discipline come in is if we have an issue with them not following the teacher's guidance, or, you know, just like I said, just refusing, that type of thing.
In addition, on page 26, we also have elementary modification to the truancy part of that too, and that's just been changed to reflect what they would like to do next year as far as their procedures.
Just puts the onus back on the parent.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Has there been any more conversation about, I mean, we talked about the discipline policy and.
There was discussion,
Suggestions.
gosh, when did we meet? I don't remember. We met a couple months ago, and we did have some discussion, and we did come up with some ideas. And so, when we have that work session later on, we can present them.
Okay.
Any further questions?
Actually, I have a question about
Yes.
page 18, in reference to the parties. So after 2, we send a letter to the parent. The 3rd time, we send a letter to the parent. The 4th time, we send a letter to the parent. And the 5th time, we send a letter to the parent. And it's not until the 6th time that we are referring to the juvenile office. I'm just wondering, it's a lot of letters instead of maybe going to action a little sooner. Is that?
I'll speak to this as truancy court. Part of our truancy court policy, procedure procedure, is that on that 6th time, when they are actually referred to the juvenile, and that's when they enter the truancy court program. At 3, we do have a diversion, but it is really, there's not any teeth to it, I guess. It's more of just a communication with the parent. So that letter to the parent is also a letter that comes from the juvenile, but it's not, they don't become actually a part of the truancy program until the 6th.
So
Does that make
these are
sense?
not identical letters?
No.
Yeah, the tone of the letters.
Yes, and they're gonna say, and the first letter is just going to address the act or the issue, and then the next one's gonna have a little bit more, okay, they're gonna be referred to juvenile. And so the letters are a little bit of a different,
This is for little kids too, remember this?
yes, this is
for
going to the parent.
1st through 4th graders too, that are themselves at school, I guess it's just.
So they can visit
I
after.
don't say that to say that we need to put the kids in,
Yeah.
trouble earlier. I'm just saying, is there a different type of communication we have with the parents sooner that might get us a better result sooner than waiting until the 6th time? I guess that's my question.
We actually start with diversion at 3.
Yeah, when you talk about diversion, that's when you're talking about when the juvenile court gets involved, and they may contact those parents as well.
Okay.
Which may have a little bit different type of impact as opposed to the school contacting them.
Mr. Williams, I think on the third one, they actually have a face-to-face with the
I think
parents.
this too, it's just not
So
written.
they'll bring,
Good.
juvenile office will bring them face-to-face.
So basically a letter, but there's really more to it than
Right.
just a letter.
Right.
Okay,
That's just the part that the school district does.
That's just our part, yeah.
gotcha. Okay.
Good question. Any other comments on those policies? Okay, moving on to requiring action, request permission to schedule an executive session to discuss personal matters immediately following this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Stewart?
Yes.
Mr. Cantrell? Mr. Boyce?
Yes.
Mr. Brubaker?
Yes.
Mr. Malcolm?
Yes.
Mr. Pena?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Sheeter. Mr. Sheeter is going to present the A-plus program, and we have the approval of that program.
Got some statistics here for everybody that I'll hand out first.
That's the one I couldn't.
Yeah, I was gonna say, mine went over there.
I have a copy, Alan, but thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, first of all, does anybody have any questions about exactly what the A-plus program is? People just think, oh, you get free college. As far as what it is, as a kid goes through 4 years of high school, if they make certain criteria by the time they graduate, some of which being 95% attendance through all 4 years, a 2.5 unweighted grade point average, they maintain good citizenship, they score an advanced or proficient on their Algebra 1 EOC, and for some kids who don't do that, there's also a sliding scale in place. If you have a 3.0 GPA, you can make a 15 on the ACT portion. If you have a 2.8 GPA, it's a 16. 2.5, you have to score 17. So it kind of balances out a little bit.
Is that
And that can
local?
replace, I'm sorry?
Is that local? Is that, oh, it's state?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And then you have to get 50 tutor or mentor hours as well. You make all those different criteria. Then once I compile the list, I meet with all of the seniors and I tell them, usually right at the beginning of 4th quarter, hey, here's where you're at, your attendance is good, this is good, you need a few more tutor hours, let's get you in a couple more days a week, let's make sure we get all this stuff done. And then once they do, once I compile that list, that goes on, they get a stamp on their high school transcripts that says you have qualified to meet the A-plus reimbursement program. So once they go to the proper institution, usually it's a junior college, a lot of kids go to Three Rivers. I mean, over the past couple of years, I've noticed that the number of kids that we send to Three Rivers has been going up. SAHEC also is one for kids who are going to stay here in town and just get the first 2 years, the basics in. They're at SAHEC, they can get 2 years there. Pretty much it says that it is free. It's not 100% free, it's about 95% free. There are some other fees, and you'd have to check with SEMO exactly what that is that they have to pay. But it's a great program for kids who otherwise would not be able to get any type of secondary education, you know, post-secondary education. I know we had several kids last year that one in particular stands out in mind. His attendance was a little bit low, and he came in, he's like, you know, I was planning on going to college, I'm not going to be able to now, is there anything we can do? So we started looking at his attendance, and we found out that there were several days that he had missed because his father had some really, really, really serious medical issues. One of them, I think he had lost a hand, and he needed help, and his wife had to work, so the son had to stay home. Another one, the father, I think, also developed cancer, so the son had to stay home and help him. And we filed some waivers on those days because that's not his fault. It's not like he just woke up and said, Mom, I'm sick, and I said, oh, sure, stay home. You know, he had to miss to actually help his family out. So we waived a couple of those days, and he ended up, he's going to SAHEC now, or otherwise he probably would not have been.
Do those waivers go through the state?
It basically comes through me, and then we change the attendance on that, and we type up a letter. He goes and talks to his doctor, and the doctor says, yes, there's no possible way that he could have been attending school on those days. And once we get the proper number of days, and the math balances out where it is 95%, then I write a letter and say, yes, this, you know, due to some circumstances beyond his control, and then that's what pretty much gets him through. There are kids who are constantly, you know, I don't have time to go do tutoring after school because I'm running track or I'm playing baseball, and in the morning time I have this to do. I got SAHEC classes, so I can't. So we kind of sometimes will alter a schedule where a kid can fit in, like with what Ms. Morgan was talking about, the eye care program. They can get tutor hours that way. They get a half hour each day. So they do that throughout the week. That's 2.5 hours each week. Or, you know, if you're 10 hours behind, a couple weeks, you've got it. So we have made modifications to allow students to get that. As you can see, all the numbers are here back to the 1999 seniors. Last year, the seniors that we identified 52 who qualified, 25 of which used the benefits, which percentage-wise is probably a little bit higher than what it normally has been, but it's very, very consistent with what we've had. This year's seniors, right now, as of right now, I have identified 40 who are probably going to receive the benefits, and 19 plan on using it. And that's just mainly through interviews and say, hey, what do you plan on doing? Where are you going to school? I'm going to probably say, hey, so we're going to use this? Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay, great, congratulations. A question that I get asked often is, why would all 52 that qualified last year, why would they not use it? Well, if you go out of state, it doesn't apply. And there's a lot of kids that will go to, or there's the 4-year institutions in Missouri, they don't honor it. So, you know, if you're going to Mizzou, well, you qualified, and but you're not going to be able to use it because they just don't honor it. If we have students who are like that, I tell them go ahead and stay in the program because you never know what might happen. You may get really, really homesick after one semester, and you're back here. And if you don't, you know, if you don't have the scholarship to fall back on, well, then that's another 3 semesters that you can end up paying. And some kids use that scholarship also in the summertime between graduation and when they start in the fall. They can take summer courses through 3 Rivers. You know, they can get 9 hours if they really wanted to that way, and it's free. So it's a really good program, and our kids are using it.
Alan, what is the drop off between the juniors and like sophomore and freshmen? Is that a big,
As far as the numbers who are in
yeah,
it,
do people unenroll or just have a
Usually
lot
it's
more people?
the seniors that are not in it as much.
what we have done with that is when the 8th graders do their pre-enrollment into the freshman year, the counselors go over, and it started with this year's sophomores, they require them to sign up for the A+ program. So that's why the numbers are so much higher.
They can sign up later. They cannot sign up later.
No, they can, but a lot of them just don't, because they're not interested in doing the tutoring. You know, it's out there, and everybody knows about it, it's just a lot of them. And you'd be surprised how many already, but as I go through the list of seniors who are in the A+ program that have not done the tutoring. I mean, 0 hours.
Yeah, and I found that some of those kids that I'm talking to, they don't know about the program.
Really?
That's what
They
they
did a better job. We just enrolled Chloe into our freshman year, and this was part of the enrollment process. They had an explanation, and of course, we signed up. In fact, I think that number probably was pretty significant.
Do you have to enroll as a freshman, or can you?
The hours start accumulating once you're a freshman in high school. So if, let's say you're a junior and you have never joined A+ before and you hear about it or whatever, yeah, I'd like to join A+, they come by and we get them signed up, start them up right then. And usually
They're just kind of behind a little bit.
yes, and they missed 2 years of tutoring opportunities. But, I mean, we have, as you can see right here, I mean, we have 20 sophomores who already have, you know, all 50 hours. So it's, and some of those, I have one girl right now who's a sophomore, she's got, I think, 140 tutor hours, because she goes 4 or 5 days a week, and she's been doing that for 2 years, basically. She actually came to me about 3 months ago, and said, can I back off some of my tutoring? I kind of want to go home and watch TV.
Maybe she needs to go sell some of those.
Yeah, exactly.
So do the community service hours, they don't have anything to do with?
Not with the A+, like if your son goes and helps with the food bank, that's community service hours, but not A+.
Okay.
A+ has to be done on school grounds and has to be supervised by a school official, and it has to be some sort of tutoring or mentoring.
But we give, at graduation, don't we give?
Yeah, I think part of the service learning course.
Yeah, they do get the cords. If they have 50 hours, I think they get bronze, and 75 they get silver, and 100 they get gold.
But don't the tutoring hours count as the volunteer hours?
Exactly. If you've got 50 tutor hours, now you've also got 50 volunteer hours. And then if you've done 25 hours at the food bank, well, that's 75 total for community service. A lot of people get those intermixed and they think that, you know, I have a lot to do with both of those. I strictly focus on the A+ stuff. And then I have kids come to me all the time, seniors with a little sheet, and I sign up their A+, and yeah, that goes towards your community service.
One other question now, if you, let's say you qualified for all your requirements for the A+ program at the end of your junior year, like you've got your tutor hours and stuff, could you take summer courses between your junior and senior year?
I don't think so. I think it's only for those who have
You have to be a graduate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, as far as tutoring goes, once you have gotten all of your tutor hours, you know, most kids are like, I'm done, I don't want to do it anymore. I try to identify them, looking them up on SIS, and I try to get more, you know, to keep going through the elementary schools after they've already gotten their 50 hours. A lot of these just don't want to because they've gotten what they need. And some of them really enjoy going and hang out with those little kids. They really like it. They have a great time going.
Well, the other incentive is if they're a senior and they qualify for A+, they can do open campus lunch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a big incentive as a
That's big.
senior.
And there's a lot of, as juniors, they'll come up because that's when, you know, that's determined and they'll find out.
That's the criteria for off-campus lunch.
Off campus is basically
Yeah.
A+ stuff.
It is. It's the recommendation to accept the A+ program information that just presented.
Second. Any further discussion, questions, comments from Mr. Sheeter? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, next.
Thanks, Alex.
Next, we have the approval of junior high curriculum. Ms. Glywell is going to present that information.
Good evening.
It's really,
I believe this is also in our docs, but I've got it up here on the screen as well, so we can all see it.
Can you turn on the fans up here, please?
It's 74 degrees.
But
Is it okay for you? I mean.
We're very excited this evening to share with you some changes we are going to be again implementing next year at the junior high. And we wanted to talk about that within the context of the new courses that we are asking you to approve. Because to understand where we're going, we want you to understand the changes we're making, because otherwise it may get a little jumbled. So as you can see, our goal is to enrich and challenge our students today so we meet their needs tomorrow. You've heard Ms. Hartzog talk a little bit tonight about response to intervention, RTI. We have also been studying RTI within our work as a professional learning community. And we also went to Fredericktown, we went to their middle school and took a look at it, and we're very, very excited about it. As Ms. Hartzog mentioned, it consists of 3 tiers when you look at your instruction. Tier 1 is your curriculum for all children. Tier 2 is the child who just needs a little bit of help with a certain standard, just that little nudge over the line. And Tier 3 is a child who needs significant intensive interventions. And so it is systematic, it's data-based, and it focuses on identifying and resolving academic difficulties. And our teachers use research-based instructional practices to meet the needs of our kids. The point of RTI is you quickly intervene when students need more assistance. We don't wait till, let's say, Christmas and say, what do I do now? We see it right away, we see it in August, we take action right then, so we meet that child's needs. It also gives us the chance to provide more enrichment opportunities, which we're going to talk about as well, with a change to our schedule. So we're talking about both ends of the spectrum with RTI. We're talking about children who need significant intervention and assistance, and then children who also need enrichment opportunities. They need to be able to explore other things. As you're probably aware, one of our, pardon me, I have a head cold, comprehensive school improvement goals is to provide differentiated alternative programs for our kids. And this is going to help us meet that goal. So our plan, like I said, we have been studying RTI, and we have reviewed our processes, and we're going to offer more enrichment and more intervention services for our kids. We are going to offer RTI in the areas of English and math. We just decided to start with 2. We didn't want to bite off more than we could chew. We want to really dig in and get it right with our kids. What is going to happen, we're changing our bell schedule. We'll take a look at it in a minute. Students will participate in 13 to 17 days of enrichment, depends on where the school calendar falls, and then they will rotate to a new class, and they will have a variety of enrichment opportunities offered. I will tell you some ideas that teachers have come up with are amazing, like planting a garden out behind the school. Another teacher was talking about kids exploring various countries, and they come up with a vacation plan. We had one that was talking about Taekwondo. I mean, the sky was really the limit with enrichment. We would use that time then for those children that we've identified as needing significant help with English and math to kind of push them over the line. That would be their intervention time. while the other students are getting the enrichment. So what's it going to look like? We are going to begin teaching English and literature in a combined class to all students, one class period a day. Currently, students take an hour of English, like you might have English first hour, and then you have literature fifth hour. We are going to be like they are at the high school, and it is going to be meshed into one unit. We will operate on a 7-period day. We're currently on an 8-period day. So class length will be extended to 55 minutes, and we will run one bell schedule, which is a huge thing for our students and our teachers who teach more than one grade. Because right now, you may be standing in the hallway for a few minutes if you're a 7th grader and your teacher's teaching an 8th grade class before that. And our kids will have more course offerings to pick from to meet their individual needs. Our 5 new classes, and we'll delve into these in a minute, are called Pathways to Success, Innovators Learning Lab, Math Learning Lab. Thank you, sorry. This is my 8th meeting today. I thought I was going to be able to keep going. English Learning Lab and 8th grade Advanced Art. And as mentioned, this does align with our CSIP goal of providing more differentiated alternative programs. RTI enrichment will be held daily. It'll be in everybody's schedule. And we're going to look at some sample schedules shortly for 30 minutes in the early afternoon. It'll be 5th hour. And here is our new bell schedule. As you can see, like first hour still begins at 8:10 a.m., just like it does right now, but it'll end at 9:05. Lunch is getting pushed back a little bit, so if you have a junior high kid and they come in and they say, man, Mom, lunch is like brunch, because it starts at about 10:37 right now, it's now going to begin at 11:07. 5th hour is where everybody will have RTI enrichment time from 12:43 to 1:13, and everybody will still dismiss at 3:10 p.m. So, what are these classes? Pathways to Success. This is a course that's designed to help students achieve a level of functional literacy. And students in this class are going to work on reading fluency, vocabulary development, and reading comprehension strategies. I do want to stress this is not a remedial reading course. The reason is, remedial classes, when you take them in traditional format, you would be in this class and you would not be in English. So you would be missing out on your grade level content. In this model, Pathways to Success is an elective. So you are going to stay in English and get your grade level content, and you're also going to get the help you need so you will become a successful reader. Math Learning Lab, same kind of concept. Students identified as missing key essential math skills. This could be multiplication, division, fractions. Will be placed in Math Learning Lab. It is also not remedial because they are going to still stay in their grade level math class. And this class is limited to 10 students per hour so that teachers can really get a lot of one-on-one going. So let's say I need help with fractions and Mr. Sable needs help with division, the teacher can manage that, okay? English Learning Lab, same concept, only now we're looking at writing, grammar, comprehension. And it is also limited to 10 children per hour. 8th grade Advanced Art, pretty much what it sounds like. Very excited about this. This course is designed for students who earn an A in 7th or 8th grade art, and they're more interested in having an opportunity to go further than what we can right now in just regular 7th or 8th grade art. You know, really appealing to those children who have an artistic side. Maybe they want to paint more, maybe they want to sculpt more. We have resources there that we want to be able to utilize with these kids. And so they'll be challenged to create innovative and unique projects. Pardon me. Innovators Learning Lab, extremely excited about this one as well. Last month, you saw some of our teachers talking about project-based learning. This is our project-based learning class for next year, and it is a semester course. As you'll recall, project-based learning is a teaching method where students gain knowledge and skills by working for an extended period of time to investigate and respond to a complex question, a problem, a challenge, something very broad. So they will learn a variety of skills like teamwork, budgeting and resources, critical thinking, collaboration, and they'll become problem proposers and problem solvers. Those skills we all know are necessary in today's workforce to be successful. So here is the sample schedule. I just pulled names out of the air and I created them. This was for a child that might take Pathways to Success, the reading class. As you can see, Abby would have Pathways to Success first hour, then second hour she's going to have English. Third hour she's going to take PE first semester, and then she's going to take FACS second semester, which for those of us that's home ec. Math. Then she's going to have RTI enrichment time 5th hour. She'll have history 6th hour and science 7th. Susie Rose, who might take Innovators Learning Lab, could start her day in CP Math, then go to CP English. 3rd hour, first semester, she'd take Innovators Learning Lab, then she'd pick up her PE credit in 2nd semester. 4th hour, she'd have science. 5th hour, like with everybody, she's in RTI enrichment. 6th hour, she's in band with Mr. Steelman or Miss Whitehead. And 7th hour, she takes history. And the last sample, Mike Raleigh, he has Math Learning Lab, and you could easily substitute English Learning Lab here. You see he has Social Studies first hour, then he goes to English, then he goes to Math Learning Lab, Science, RTI Enrichment. 6th hour, he's going to take PE first semester, Inquire 2nd semester, and Math last hour of the day. Questions?
Yes.
Yes.
First of all, I think there's a lot to sink in.
It is a lot, yes. That's why we said we needed a PowerPoint.
And I'm not sure that we shouldn't have more time to think about what we're doing here, because I read a little bit about RTI, and it's the things, a lot of the things that I was reading they weren't being successful with the program. And I think what I was reading was you've really, really, really got to put a lot of energy into that tier 1.
Yes, and we are.
Teachers have a lot of stress put on them at that tier 1 level,
Right.
because they're teaching everybody, and there's no remedial math or remedial. We used to have remedial classes to help kids who needed help,
Right.
and we did away with that for, I guess, to try it to see. I remember it was kind of let's see if this is working.
Right.
And instead of putting the remedial math and English back in, we're replacing it with a different system. And I didn't understand that what was not working with the remedial math and remedial.
The issue with remedial is, let's say I was placed in remedial math. Maybe I was working on fractions multiplication. I was pulled out of my regular math. So I was missing the instruction on, let's say I was a 7th grader, the 7th grade level. So I was getting further and further behind because I wasn't exposed to that grade level content.
But if you're needing the remedial assistance, are you going to be able to, isn't it building on each other as you go? And if you're not getting the fractions there, then you're not going to be able to get the next thing that's coming up.
The idea is that the learning lab class, like the math, will help address the fraction issue, which will then translate into the grade level class as well.
So do they get placed by the school
Yes.
in those?
Based on
they're
our
not really
information.
electives for those kiddos.
It's considered an elective for them, but they are placed by us, yes ma'am, based on the
So
data
it's
we
not
have.
really, I mean,
Yeah.
you're saying this is what you're going to take.
Yes.
What about the hallways
What about it?
and the crowdedness of the hallways if you're going to have one bell system and the kids get into class?
Our hallways are bigger. That was actually my understanding, one reason for when the buildings were flipped for the junior high going across town. The hallways are bigger over here where we are than they are over here at the 5th and 6th grade. And so we actually run one bell schedule on half days and we don't have a problem.
So what is your college prep, your Susie Rose, what does she do in that 5th hour?
5th hour, if she does not need any RTI, like identified for English or math, she's out. Maybe it's her cycle where they're planting a garden. Maybe it's her cycle where they're planning a vacation. Maybe they are participating in a neat activity in the gym. It depends on which teacher she has, and she will rotate every 13 to 17 days and be exposed to something new.
And so who decides that curriculum?
That will be determined by the teachers, and they're being asked to submit a unit plan to Mr. Staple and I. so that we know what's going on and what the kids are gonna experience.
And I forget, how many teachers are there in that rotation or that program?
There are, in a rotation, there are 11 rotations, and the math and English teachers are teaching the RTI.
But they'll have a different subject, so just.
It won't be the same thing over and over. It won't be like you're building the garden all year.
If you don't mind me interjecting too, this is very similar to what 5th and 6th are doing
Yes.
with their RTI program over there as well. And if I understand correctly, the teacher that does the enrichment unit will teach that unit over and
Yes.
over again, but we'll have a different set of students, so
Yes.
it's not too cumbersome to the teacher either.
What are we losing in terms of the English, if we had an English class separate from literature, what are we literally losing in that?
In my
this
opinion,
process?
as a former English teacher, nothing. It actually meshes better because right now it's a little hard to distinguish sometimes of, well, that the English teacher is supposed to teach that. Well, the literature teacher is supposed to teach that. Because English blends itself so well when you write, that I should be able to say to you, Ms. Stewart, I love how you formed this paragraph. Have you considered using more similes and metaphors? That's a literature term. But I'm talking to you about your writing. So to me, it just goes to better together as one unit. And that's how I taught it for 6 years at high school.
Sorry, I can't be quiet. It was introduced several years ago when it was middle school, and then it carried over, became junior high, as an attempt to improve ELA achievement, and really didn't. It was kind of a let's try this and see how it works. But I think Jody's right. It works better as an integrated model,
Yes.
teaching both at the same time. At least that's our hope, and that's how it's done everywhere except junior high.
Yes.
So.
Without getting real technical,
Sure.
could you, in some way, tell me how RTI will help identify challenges with students quicker than what we can right now?
Because it forces us to look at our data already. Like I will tell you, we're already looking at data right now to determine which students need to be placed in English Learning Lab and Math Learning Lab for next year, from day one. The old model, you would go ahead and, let's say you were teaching math, and you would begin teaching on the first day, and by about the second week, you'd be like, something's not right. He's struggling with this. And so you would begin to try to look for something else. Chances are, we already knew that child was struggling, so this says, let's jump on it from day one.
Based upon the previous year?
Yes, yeah. We look at all kinds of data, state of testing data, grades, informal teacher assessments,
Even
just
from a different
observations.
school?
Yes,
Like
Ms. Long is collecting a list for us and sending it over about the 6th graders who are coming on to 7th grade of who could benefit from this program.
How did they get out of like the math learning lab? I mean, do they catch
It's a
up?
year-long
Do they-
class, but if you got to where you need to be, you can test out at Christmas as a semester class that way. Any other questions?
How are we gonna fund getting our teachers the professional development that they're gonna need to be able to implement this?
We've actually been doing a lot of this already on a week-by-week basis in our collaborative meetings. We meet on Tuesdays. So today, the major component of talking about RTI today was we talked about universal screeners, about assessments to identify children. So we've just been taking it piece by piece by piece, and our in-service on April 27th is going to be devoted to this.
Do the teachers like this?
Yeah.
They're happy with this?
They're excited. I will tell you that they were pumped about the idea of helping students who need interventions, also helping those who need enrichment, and everybody in between.
And this is kind of part of the PLC process. This is just kind of an extension of
Yes.
that. We already do a lot of collaboration,
Yeah.
looking at data. This
Every
is-
Tuesday.
Yeah, this is just an extension of that part of the whole process.
And you'll have the same kinds of assessments going on?
Yes, yeah.
And probably within the two or 3 weeks of school starting, so that you're on
Yeah,
more quickly
we'll
as
be,
you're-
you have to continually look at data with this to identify which children just need a little nudge over the line and who needs more.
Renee, did you have a comment?
Well, I was saying,
The PLC process has been in our building for about 8 years with Tim Regner when he was with us. And so we've had several teachers that have already been trained through the PLC process. You have another group going through, and the RPC is really good at helping us in anything that we do, so.
We have all the foundation, all the building blocks are in place. And it's really going to allow us to identify the needs of each individual student and be able to find out if they're not under this concept, why? Is it because, is there gaps that are missing? Is it there, we say, are they an intentional non-learner? Is it a behavior thing? It really allows us to focus in and then have targeted, specific interventions.
Because on tier 3, you might have found that somebody needs to go to tier 3 to have an IEP. Or
Yes,
something.
and that's part of it. You may identify children who need to be tested.
So we have all the data there, because special ed referral is a process. So by the time we have all the data, and it could be, there's two kids that aren't special, but it allows us to key in on why and kind of develop a plan on how can we help these students.
I'm sorry, I'd like to see, have us keep a real watch on if we are seeing a difference in how the students are doing by taking away an hour of English and literature. I mean, because I would hope that there would be still books that are being read.
Oh, there will be,
time
definitely.
For that kind of stuff.
Yes. It, like I said, it actually lends itself to it better because you don't have to worry about, was that the other person's thing? I don't want to tread on their toes. This, you can mesh it all as one.
Yeah, and I'm hoping, that's such a big change, that I just would like us to track how the students doing.
And we will.
And did they suffer, like with their testing at the end of the year compared to the year before?
Yeah, we definitely did a lot of legwork on it as well. We got Sally Lake involved, and a lot of feedback, and a lot of background information going into it.
And I've also taught English at another school district before where your literature and your grammar and everything was intertwined. And this is one of the only school systems I've ever seen that separated at the junior high level.
Yeah, and we're the only building that does district-wide. Yeah, we're the only one. So it's quite a switch for students when they move over from 5th and 6th grade to us, and then they have to switch back when they go to Miss Hotchkiss at the high school.
And we have 47 minutes now, and we're increasing the time by another 10 minutes almost. So, I mean,
This is almost sounds like a formalized plan. You don't have RTI at the high school, correct? You do not. I mean, but what
they have
Ms. Morgan was talking about sounds like
It's similar. We're intervening, but what basically, those kids they're identifying themselves really.
correct. No, right. This sounds like a formal plan, and that's sort of
Ours is informal and
right.
just.
Yeah,
And we have
that's great.
we have an RTI program at the elementary schools at 5th and 6th, now in junior high, and kindergarten and high school both have their own. They don't have RTI per se, just like Steve said, they have their way of addressing those students who are needing help too. So it should theoretically fit right in.
So I kind of like the concept's very interesting. I think data-driven information is wonderful. So I'm going to ask a question, and I don't want to come across as oversensitive.
Okay.
But essentially what we're doing is we're taking students and we're separating them from those who are going to be an enrichment program to further their interests, like the students that make Asian art.
Right.
Then we're going to take some students that are struggling, having challenges, and we're going to separate them and have them do something different.
During 5th hour for a while, but once you learn that skill in 5th hour, you go right back to enrichment. So you go back to building a garden or learning taekwondo.
But you don't do that until semester.
Right. Well, that's what you're talking about the class itself. Yeah. Yeah. RTI enrichment changes every 13 to 17 days.
It's really less, I don't know what term did you use, less sensitive than remedial, because you're taking those kids straight out of all the classes that their friends take, and they're in remedial.
Because you're not taking regular math or regular English.
Right. And that's so, this Yeah, I get
So
you, I
you're
agree
still
with
gonna
you, you
be
don't want,
taking
that's the
regular
left.
math, but then you'll just do enrichment, regular English, regular.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, they'll be taking common formative assessments to check those objectives, and it's the objectives that the kids jump past, that they're gonna go into this RTI time to get that initial, over the hump. And so, once they've done that, and if they've done it in 3 days, then they can go back into that enrichment with those other kids. If it takes them 5 days, then they can go in. It may take them all 13 to 17 days to figure out those skills that they're lacking in, but once they do, then they're back
So
to track the rest of
then-
them.
What is, and again, I understand like, even in our elementary, we're changing the whole concept of the way we grade and all that stuff. So how will students receive grades for those enrichment periods?
For fifth hour.
Yeah.
Right now, we're discussing whether it will be a pass-fail type thing, or how we want to approach
Because
that.
then let's say a kid is doing their RTI and they jump in enrichment halfway through, how do you?
And that's why we were discussing whether we want it to be a pass-fail kind of thing, that you are making an effort and doing what is asked of you.
Obviously, y'all thought of that, so.
Yeah.
I don't need to know the details, I just want to know that you're following it.
We do. We have a very lengthy manual we're gonna go through.
If you've got kids who would have been in remedial classes, in with other kids that the teacher now has to, is that teacher going to have to cater to the remedial children in the class to the detriment of the ones who might be able to be pushed further along?
If you're taking math learning lab or English learning lab, you're in there with other children who are also struggling. Yes, you're still going to be in regular math with all of your peers. But the teacher will also know that you are in math learning lab, and there's a chance to intervene a lot more one-on-one with you there.
And there still isn't that day-to-day, there's still the college prep.
Yes.
Grade level.
You mean if somebody's tested into college?
Yeah, like it just, talking about that tier 1 instruction, there's still gonna be the college prep and the grade level, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Which that was on, Susie was the one that had.
Oh,
that.
that's, okay.
There she is.
That's what that
Yeah.
was.
Susie has a CP schedule.
My kid's not
So do you
enough.
guys all feel like this will still challenge your college prep?
Even more.
Okay.
Because-
And while you're letting the other folks catch up?
Because exactly like right here on Susie's schedule, she's taking Innovators Learning Lab, so she's gonna be doing project-based learning. She's gonna be in enrichment opportunities, learning about other things that we would not have the opportunity to teach anytime else. You know, we don't have time to teach how to make a garden, build one, and, weed it and all that, but we would during this.
Some other ideas for that was also like the newspaper, having a school newspaper during that time, and having different kids switch into that newspaper class or enrichment, yearbook, different things that would even actually help with
The list was endless.
high school.
It was like 2
as they
pages
go.
long.
So is it the administration?
Yes, it is the administrator's recommendation to accept this.
I move we accept the administration's recommendation.
Second. Motion and a second. Further discussion, question, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. Number 5, thank you. We have the renewal of the Airmark Food Service Management Contract, and we are on year 5. There she is.
Yes, when the food service bid is mandated by the state to be on a 5-year cycle, it's a very strict process. We'll be entering into the 5th and final year of our 2nd contract with Airmark Services, and it's the administration's recommendation that we proceed with that 5th year of the contract. We'll come to the board at some point next school year and ask you to form a committee, and we'll go through that process again. There is a nominal increase, but because we are a cost per plate, cost per meal served, it's mandated in the 5-year. We've known what the increase would be for the 5th year since year 1, so there's no surprises here. So it's the administration's recommendation that we renew for year 5.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay, the seventh item on the list is a consideration of the amendment of the 2017-2018 school calendar. You look at that calendar that's in your packet. We're on a 176-day calendar, which was approved last year. We missed 3 days for inclement weather. We missed those back in January 12th, 17th, and 18th. We also missed March 16th because of the state basketball tournament. We have, however, made up 2 days. We made up February 16th, and then also we made up March 29th. I'm asking the Board of Education to forgive 2 days. By forgiving 2 days, that will allow us to be at 174, which is the state minimum requirement to attend. And we're in compliance with the state.
What days did you say we made up? Did you say?
We made up February 16th and then also March 29th.
I'm good.
Is there a motion? We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right, let's get into some contracts. We have, the next 4 are that, and the first one that we need to look at is that of the probationary teacher contract. And obviously, I can't go through and read this for you, but it is in front of you. The big thing that we've already talked about, which is under 13, is that of some type of damages if a teacher tries to get out during those months of June, July, and August. And you see the dollar amount, the 500, the 750, and the 1,000.
Is that really, do you think that's enough?
Well,
I mean, because
you
really,
know,
they have to sign the contract by April.
the teacher,
Yeah.
I think it's enough. I do. I really do. I think it is something that's going to put a pinch in their pocket.
Would definitely be a deterrent.
Mhm. And if you start looking at, because the ones, Rebecca, that have been bothering us as of late have been the July ones. It seemed like we have those that come in and they're asking to get out of their contract in July. And I think the $750, you know, is a pretty good dollar amount.
It's a house payment. It keep me from making a dumb.
Excuse me?
That's a house payment. It keep me from making a dumb decision.
Does this hurt at all with your recruiting? I mean, just on that.
There's a lot of other districts that do the same thing. Actually, we had one just last year that went in and paid the dollar amount to some other school district and came to work for us.
Oh, really?
The
school
district paid it?
No. She paid the school district. No, the school district did not pay it.
One thing you're not, we did expressly put in here and in the policy change, you are, and left the language in the policy change, you're not obligated to let them out of their contract. It's not that it costs me $750 and you have to let me have it. You know, that it's.
But we're still doing like we have before, is that they have to have a request to get out of the contract and you have to approve that or not.
Or we can make it contingent. We can make it contingent on finding a replacement and doing the fees.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah, that was part of the policy.
That was part of the policy change, is to put that in the policy that any is gonna be contingent on
Replacement.
replacement.
Well, or, I mean, in a circumstance to where we've had them, we still have the option of not charging fees. Right?
It's not drafted that way.
Really?
It is not.
Well, I think we need to have our own authority to, I mean, there are instances where
We've
someone
had
gets a job.
illness.
Yeah, illness, there's
Illness.
lots of things that we need to have the ability to.
Well, at that point, wouldn't we approve the resignation? And if we approve the resignation, would that release them from these
I think you would not want to change your contract. If anything, you'd want to look at your policy, which you just have on, which you
That
can.
policy,
Just approved.
that
No, we
policy
haven't
though
approved it.
has.
Oh, that's right.
But it's got that section right
If
above
you
this.
look
that
in
says
board policy that
illness
we went through, it does talk about, you were talking about, you know, if somebody moves or whatever. I mean, the board considers serious illness, transfer of spouse, military service is legitimate
It's
reason.
there,
Right.
it's right there.
So I mean, that covers it.
But then it goes on to say, I think you want to think about this, employee will not be released from a contract unless suitable place is found, that's actually, was not in here, but is part of the MSTA form, or the MSBA form. And further, in replacement of the contract will be responsible for costs of finding a suitable replacement, which would be these liquidated damages. You may want to put an escape valve in there if you really wanted to do that. The problem is, I usually reject slippery slope arguments, but that's what you're going to run into. You know, you're going to.
You let so-and-so out of it, you didn't let me out of it, or?
Yeah.
Guys, I think it's time though, we've talked about this for a long time, as long as I've been around here, we've talked about
it
this.
as long.
But we're still saying you could let somebody out of if they have serious illness, we could still do that, or say their spouse
have
had a
the
serious
authority.
illness.
You'd have I
Always have
the board would have the ultimate authority to modify a contract.
But this does put
It puts the onus on
Yeah.
them, and that was the intent. Whether it works or not, who knows? And you can go through all these contracts if you want. I would think you could approve them all.
That's what I was getting ready to
If
ask.
you want to.
Yeah.
Well, what Tom and we were talking about it, we wanted to update, and we can certainly, Tom, you want to go through them all, but that's kind of a big thing, and we wanted to also update the contracts because what we were using was really kind of antiquated.
Brian's
We
been after
thought
us
we should,
now for
I've been after
a couple of years
for
to
a
get
couple
done.
of years. But we just thought it'd be best to get the forms to the board, especially because there's going to be some changes, and say, hey, here they are. You can approve them however.
So what is
you
the
want.
primary change on the other two?
On the extra duty services,
Yeah.
the big change on the extra duty services contract would be, the old extra duty services contract just kind of said, hey, you're going to do this and here's what you're going to be paid. And this brings into some things that part of it's boilerplate, that it incorporates the MSHA standards. It indicates a lot of things that are going to be, that would also be in the teacher's contract, but if you had somebody who has an extra duty contract who wouldn't necessarily be a teacher, you have the background check, you have everything, and it's everything that's being done anyway, but we need to put it in here, and then also the fact that we need to put in here on extra duty contracts that they can be terminated for any reason. And you do not have, and that is a big difference that's between an extra duty contract and in any other type of contract is that it's really an at-will type situation, and that's different than the old contract. Or, let me rephrase that, some of the old contracts that really weren't being.
And then on the principal's contract was?
The principal contract's pretty standard. The difference between how it is now and really this, there's not gonna be a lot, other than it just spells out things that are really already being done, which would be the background check and
What goes on the list that, I have a couple things about attendance, and also about retirement.
I was gonna ask if
Attendance and
retirement wasn't in the.
I mean, this is more like something that, my contract, is what it is, which I think.
And it does have a retirement date of being, or notification date, January 1, which I think is really reasonable, and you want to encourage that. Absent, it gives you the opportunity, you can always say, sure, something happens, or somebody just decides it's time to go, but it gives everybody a little bit more notice.
I like it.
So can we consider the three of those together?
There's four.
Yeah,
If you'd like to, we most certainly can.
Yes.
one giant swoop. So it's administration's recommendation to accept the probationary teaching contract, tenured teaching contract, extra duty services contract, and then also the principal's contract.
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, number 12 is consideration of the paper bid. You'll notice on your sheet, we had 4 bids. We had from Paper Corporation, Premier Paper, Contract Paper Group, and Midland Paper. Premier Paper had the lowest bid, $43,368.40. It's administration's recommendation to accept that bid from Premier Paper.
Second.
Motion and a second, further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, next item is consideration of asphalt bid, and Mike Brown is here to present that.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Last year, we had an opportunity to recoat our asphalt parking at the field house and restripe it, get on the cracks field. We want to continue with that right on around the high school campus. There's a map in there, diagram that shows it wraps all the way around. We'll get Bulldog Alley included in that. And I did advertise in the paper, and it didn't have anybody respond to the advertisement, so I solicited bids from, it was either 4 or 5 vendors, I can't remember how many.
That's what I was getting ready to ask you. Local vendors didn't?
I had Delta, Jokerst, Biassy, and Cossey, and all of those within like Jackson. The one who's a foreigner, sometimes Kentucky, I guess. But when you hear this guy talk, he's got a worse accent than I do. Everybody is pretty much local, you know, Jackson area, Perryville.
There's a guy that does it local, that's the reason I asked. It's Jimmy Cox.
He didn't respond. He was one of them I sent to. Yes.
Oh, okay, I mean, so you specifically solicited them?
Yes, sir. I sent all of them an email with all of that information that I had. And I only had one individual that responded in a bid, and that was Mr. Bison. And it was for the amount of $20,000.50. He was the same gentleman who did our work last year and did a good job. So it'd be my recommendation that we use him again for this kind of money.
Second.
Motion and a second, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, lastly, thank you, Mike.
Thank you, sir.
Lastly, under required actions, that is approval to pay bills as of March 2018. I didn't send myself a note, so I don't have that.
Oh, yeah, right there.
Okay, well then I didn't.
Yeah.
Move to approve the bills with a roll call vote.
Yes.
Second.
Ms. Stewart?
Yes.
Mr. Cantrell?
Yes.
Mr. Boyce?
Yes.
Mr. Crumbacker?
Yes.
Mr. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Tanner?
Abstain.
Oh, yeah, okay. I didn't even think about Joe on there.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, Mr. Tanner, I turn it over to you for the consent agenda items.
All right, go through the consent agenda items. Approval of the minutes for the work session, March 13th, 2018. Regular session, March 13th, 2018. Executive session, March 13th, 2018. Executive session, March 29th, 2018. Ratification of support staff report. Ratification of substitute teacher report. Ratification of athletic workers report. The acceptance of employee retirement Terry Kennedy. Acceptance of employee resignation Courtney Jordan, Jacqueline Weidenberger, Jessica Toombs, Dawn Freeze. Approval of 2018-2019 handbooks, professional staff, support staff, substitute teacher. Approval of board policies as proposed by MSBA, IGBB, IKF, and JHB.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?